Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for September 23rd, 2013. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so there is still the warrant downstairs to be signed for those of you who have not signed it yet. As
Right there.
Phil brought it up, thank
Brought
you,
the
Phil.
14 pounds up.
And we have minutes to be approved. I will entertain motions for approval.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from September 9th as presented.
Second?
Second? Motion and second, any discussion?
Could I just ask, executive session is mentioned here, but these aren't the minutes for the executive session, correct?
Correct.
Okay, those would be on another, okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain, I was not there.
I'll abstain also.
All right, Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the September 16th minutes as presented.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Although,
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
just the informal minutes, are we including them with the minutes, or?
I didn't, I just put those for your,
Okay.
for
Because it wasn't actually at the meeting time.
right, they weren't minutes, so it was just.
Okay.
so, Gary, it's a good point though for everybody to understand is that we did not have a quorum when this gathering started. I guess it wasn't officially a meeting, but we wanted to have a discussion that was public, it was televised. And then we did gain a quorum at 6:45 p.m. When Stu was available. And then it became a meeting. So that's why there's some unofficial minutes and official minutes. But again, thought it was more important to have a discussion in public that people could listen to all sides.
And the notes were just for those who were in attendance, so.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
I'm going to say I was absent as well. Okay, great, thank you. All right. Old business, the personnel bylaw. So recapping a little history, 2 meetings ago, this was begun as a discussion or a specific discussion on the pros and cons of dissolving the personnel board and changing the responsibilities of the town administrator in a bylaw adjustment. As a follow-up to that meeting, and I apologize, I was not at that meeting. As a follow-up to that meeting, we had the meeting that I just referred to, in which we had input from a number of different people in terms of their opinions on the value of the personnel board and or the value of changing the current structure. And now it is on our topic for tonight. Really, we're at a decision point whether or not we include this in the upcoming town warrant. I have an additional letter from Mrs. Dorothy Blanchard, who's also here. Would you like to talk to us directly? Would you want me to read the letter? What would you like me to do? I'm happy to
I'd
do.
probably rather talk to you than have you read the letter.
Sure.
You all have a copy of the letter, do you not?
Yes.
So, can I do it from right here?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That would be great. I don't know if you've had a chance to read the letter, but have you all had a chance to read the letter?
Yes.
Okay. I guess basically what I have to say is that it took a lot of work to decide to recommend a personnel board to the town of Georgetown. And I would like to see some more study done before it is done. I gathered from what was in the paper that Mr. Rich didn't feel like his side of the story was listened to adequately. And while I know efficiency is important, there are other things that are important too. And as the paper said, and as we looked at the personnel board, that it was to make sure that all employees were taken care of thoroughly, and that there were many provisions as possible to help them. It worked for quite a while. It may or may not be the time for change. I don't know that at this point. But I would like to see a study done, and if I can be of help in that way, I would be glad to. I've had various kinds of work experience as well as quite a bit of volunteer experience, so I can come at it from a lot of different angles. I don't know if you have any questions you'd like to ask me.
Well, I'll open it for questions. I will say first, it is fantastic to have someone here who was at the beginning when it started, because we rarely have that. We usually are wondering how things got going and what was involved in many cases. So I really appreciate you coming forward and sharing information with us tonight. So thank you. I'll open up for questions.
My question would be, were there issues with the town administrator at the time in terms of competency to be able to handle
There was
personnel
no
issues?
town administrator at that time.
Okay, so
That
it
came
was
out
all
in the
the
last meeting.
Right.
that the
That's
structure
a
was different.
change that has happened since that
Right.
time. But there
So
were
was it-
many different ways that the employees were taken care of within the departments and among the departments.
So when that town administrator's position was put in place, was there any discussion about how the town administrator would, the responsibilities of the town administrator would interact with that particular committee?
I was not on the personnel board at that particular point in time, and I do not remember.
So this came out of necessity, the actual bylaw and creating of the personnel board came out of the necessity because there was no town administrator or centrally located professional to kind of handle personnel issues. So it went to a commission and a board.
Yes, there was no, shall I say, equitable plan for pay for the different positions in the different departments. There were no job descriptions. It just was a very loose organization
Right.
at that particular point in time. And we were growing, and we had to make some kind of a provision. And we had much help from many of the communities around us.
So asking Mike about that, obviously we have job descriptions in place now and salary ranges and salary structure now, right?
Well, the salary structures haven't changed since 2002.
So those haven't been updated.
Well, they have been, but they haven't been acted on.
Okay.
I submitted them to the board in 2010.
When you mean acted on in terms of updated comparisons to peer
Accepted.
group and that type of analysis, or?
In 2000, shortly after I got here, met with the board, the personnel board, and I asked them if they wanted me to do a wage and salary classification study, because that's what I used to do prior to coming on board as a consultant. I did them all over the state.
Mhm.
And they said, yeah, we need one. And I did one, complete with updated job descriptions, and it was in September of 2010. I submitted it to the board, and there was never a further discussion on it. It could be easily updated. Matter of fact, I was talking with a colleague of mine at the conference I'm attending, and she has brand new salary data available that I could easily update the policy with.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you so much for coming down and giving us the information.
You're welcome.
Derek?
If I may, yeah, at the time in 1974, I believe it was, when it was, we probably, the makeup of the board is one of the things that concerns me now, as we're having trouble, I believe, filling the town employee part. Was that part of the board when it was made up in '74?
There was no problem filling the board at the time.
At that
That
time?
it was
But if
chartered 1974,
in
75,
'74,
when it got really established.
but we probably at that time didn't have nearly as many union employees. That's what's in my mind.
Uh-huh.
'74, I don't believe our highway department, water department, and I don't know who else perhaps may have gone. So there may have been more employees to choose from. But I guess at this time, because I don't believe, would a union employee fit for this type of job? No, it has to be a non-union
The
employee.
way it's written now,
Yeah.
it says non-union.
So
Yeah, I don't think we had as many union employees.
Yeah, so-
I think that probably the Teachers Association had.
That's one aspect that concerns me right now. I believe, at this point, I in no way see completely disbanding the personnel board. I think that perhaps the makeup of the personnel board is one thing that we need to look at. And so I'm somewhat in agreement that we need more of a study. I just can't see getting this done for this special town meeting.
I did like your suggestion that was in the paper that you need to look forward to 2025. It really needs to be a long-range perspective on this decision.
Right. And I also, when saying that, wanted to make sure people knew we're not evaluating the current members of the committee. We're not assuming that the current town administrator or the current board is in place. We're talking about government structure. We're not
Right.
talking about people. We're very fortunate to have a lot of great volunteers and fantastic town employees. Hopefully that always is the trend.
And I know it's hard to get volunteers. It doesn't matter what the committee is or the board. It's hard to get people to spend the time doing that work. But it would seem to be a valuable endeavor anyway.
Stu or Phil, any questions or comments?
No, like you said, Dorothy, I truly appreciate what you've done in the past for us to help us get to where we are today. And appreciate you coming down and providing us some color into some of the work that's been done in the past. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And I think one thing that a personnel board could do is have a little stability. Our town administrators have changed over a period of time, and that's going to keep on happening. So I would like to see some way of having some things be stable. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Anything, Stu, questions for?
No, I think everybody
So,
answered.
so I guess the two things that were driving me towards part of this process is that, so I look back, because I asked a lot of the questions when we met last time. When did this begin? Why did it begin? What's the role, what's the role of the current administrator? I think two significant changes for me that were driving this was the town administrator role wasn't around when this board was created, and I think that changes the dynamic. The other thing is technology has obviously drastically changed with the internet. So to do a salary study, I'm assuming, is quite a different process now on searching the internet, which you might be able to do in an afternoon, not saying you do it in an afternoon, versus it could take months if you had to call people and get records. And so I do think that part of what I'm driving in terms of their role, in terms of gathering data and so forth, the technology has greatly changed. Because if, I'm just going to flash back to the 70s here, if we did want to do a salary review of everybody, for Mike to take on that role would be days and weeks and months of calling around, right? You'd have to call different places and have them look it up by hand or basic computer stuff. So, and the third piece is that we've been functioning and moving forward as a town, and I haven't got a clear picture as to what the personnel board has been proactively doing to help that. And again, that's not a negative for the people, so take the people out of it, but it seems that without significant interaction, we've been moving forward. in the town, you know, taking care of the people, handling salaries and so forth, and all those issues, without what seems to be an active board. And my apologies if I have any misconception there on that piece of it. So I think ultimately the question here, and I always remind myself and everybody else, we don't actually decide if there's going to be a personnel board. The townspeople, the voters do as part of this process. And what we're really deciding tonight, is it worth, do we feel comfortable, do we think it's the right thing to do, to bring this forward to the town and have them debate it and vote on it? You know, so I think it's always important to note that's how we operate. Yes?
If we don't have a full board, we only have one person evidently right now. So whoever the three appointing bodies, the moderator and the finance committee and the selectmen, really haven't been doing their duty about having a board to function. So it would be hard to evaluate, I would think, right at this particular point in time, if you haven't had a board and haven't had it functioning.
Well, it sounds, and again, I'm going back off what I've been piecing together, is that the board, we have had, I believe, a quorum on the board over, you know, if we go back 7 years, it's been on and off from that piece of it. And as I told Chris, Mr. Rich, when he was here, we stopped the process as of July 1st, because we were evaluating this. Before that, we were very open to making any nominations. It's really a volunteer issue to a certain degree. And we can, you know, when we're at church or around the fields or different places, we can try and convince people to come and volunteer, but ultimately...
I haven't seen it advertised as needing people.
I think we did advertise all the boards, and they were on the list of people, volunteers we needed. And the problem is, there were probably about 12 openings on there, so it probably blended it, quite honestly. There were, when I think we published it, there were a good amount of openings, including, I think, FinCom and a couple others. But you bring up some very fair points. So I guess the question before the board for discussion is that, and I can take it as a motion or a continued discussion, do we want to bring this forward to the town on the warrant for discussion at the special town meeting?
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I just have a few comments. So I look at HR Personnel Board as a strategic component to our town. While they do a lot of tactical things out there, it's critical that the personnel board or a personnel manager is, you know, running an HR organization that supports the long-term plan for the town. At this point, we really don't have a long-term plan, and I think that it would be a challenging decision for a lot of us, including myself, for me to say, let's change the personnel board just because of whatever reasons are on the table today, without really getting an understanding of what we think we want government structure to look like as a whole going forward. I think it's a component of a long-term government structure potential change that might be necessary for this organization, for the town, and to get there, yeah, maybe we have to do something with the personnel board. But right now, I just don't know how we would make a change on the personnel board without really understanding where we're taking the town from a government structure standpoint.
Okay.
I don't see what the total rush would be to do it at this upcoming town meeting. I kind of lean towards Phil, but I want to make this point, is that, you know, page 3 of the state, and again, just because it was an issue by the state doesn't mean we have to do it. But I tend to agree that the recommendation is, as well as the town expand the management responsibilities of the town administrator so that he oversees all of municipal government. Strengthening the town administrator position is equally essential to an effective, responsible local government. So, you know, for me, I in all of this, I would like to see more consolidation. Again, I'm not after one board. This is not trying to just shut down one particular board. We appreciate, all the hard work that that board has done. It's the same people, it's the same people on all of these boards. And eventually, I ask around all the time to try to find new people, get new blood into all the committees. And it's, I'm too busy, the kids, and, it's difficult to get people to volunteer. Again, that isn't the sole reason for me wanting to centrally locate, centralize more of a government. I agree. I tend to agree with the state. Fragmented is to me is inefficient, and does take resources that are spread just too far and too thin. So for me, going forward, again, in conjunction with the government study and where we're going to go with a charter, maybe that's the time to take this up. A year and a half ago, or a couple of town meetings ago, we got up on the floor and we tried to get $50,000 for a strategic plan. And we got voted down because people, I don't know what the overall underlying factor was, but my sense I got was people felt like their boards were going to be abolished if we have the strategic plan. At least that was part of the discussion that night, if I remember correctly. So for me, I want to move towards a centralized government situation where we're not fragmented and spread out, but I want this decision to probably, like Phil says, be part of an overall decision. So maybe take a step back. Maybe it's not for fall town meeting. Maybe this is for annual town meeting discussion. If we're there, then, because don't forget, we have to go back and take a look at the charter. Remember, we talked about, we had examples of other charters.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of discussion to do, a lot of hard decisions to make between now and then. So, no, I don't know where then is, if that's the next annual town meeting or the one after that. I don't know. But for now, I don't see where we really have to rush into this in the fall town meeting. I'm with Phil on this.
And I think a good point, and one we brought up last time, is that this isn't centered really on the personnel board. They're kind of the first point of discussion in the overall change on the DOI recommendation. So I guess they were the first domino in line based on what we saw there. So I do agree that this is part of an overall evaluation of our government for that piece of it. I guess one thing I'm hearing too is, and this is something, Gary, you bring up, is what is special town meeting for? Is it really for a major change like this? Sometimes if we think we're ready for something, we push it to include it in the special town meeting warrant. But given that it is a structural change, maybe it makes sense to have it in, if it's ready, if there's going to be a change at all, in the annual Springtown meeting, where there's typically a larger audience, and it's kind of more the mainstream place to discuss this. But I guess in terms of, so that's process. In terms of this change, I'll reiterate what I said last week. I'm amazed this place holds together. And it's really a credit to the hardworking people really cooperating with each other. The structure makes no sense in terms of how you operate any kind of organization. Things make sense over time, and then things change and you have to update it. So part of my motivation to entertain this conversation was that I do believe, similar to the recommendations, that some structural changes need to happen for us to stay solid going forward. But I can support more due diligence, as you recommended. I can support looking at it as a larger discussion and maybe incorporating it as a few steps, and then also doing it maybe more appropriately for a change of this in the annual town meeting in the spring.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, the only danger we run into now is people willing to serve on a committee that could be dissolved in 6 months. So that would be the only thing.
We've had trouble recruiting for one that's
Yeah, I know.
permanent too, so
Right.
maybe that's attractive. They only get 6 months.
They only get 6 months. Yeah,
But
look at it that way.
well, I think though we'll open it up and see if there's interest.
That's
Maybe
sunset clause
there's
built
people
in.
out there that say, "Oh, I didn't realize things were, we're at the point where we needed volunteers that bad. Maybe badly they want to step up." So if again we'll vote, or I guess is this on the warrant right now, Mike? So do we have to vote to remove it, or do we still need to vote to put it on?
It's a placeholder, yeah. That's what we were gonna do later this meeting, is decide what is on and what is not
Okay.
on.
All right. So we don't need to vote specifically on this discussion because that'll happen after.
Right.
Mr. Chair, if I may for a second, I would say this. I truly believe that there are challenges right now in the Personnel Board and effectively getting through some personnel issues that we have out there. We've seen them, it's been demonstrated. I think that, I don't want to leave this wide open. What I would like to see is us see if we can get a fully constituted board this year, get it active, and set some objectives with that board, and hopefully have them execute on some of that stuff that we've asked them to do. And then in a year from now, we can reconsider that as we drive further along. I can't see the possibility of changing our form of government with a charter in the next 6 months from now. I think that there's a longer process than that. But that being said, if we do not have a functioning, active, efficient, and effective personnel board by a year from now, then that would preclude me from saying let's keep going. I would want to make sure that we get it right. Give them a year and let's make this work right. And if not, then it's a much easier decision.
And I would just add, even if they're active, I think we still have to evaluate, is that the right way to run things here? Regardless of, I don't really look at the active versus non-active as much as the overall org structure and process. That's what I'm particularly calling the question for me, but I hear what you're saying on the, it would be good if it was fully staffed and functioning so that we could make a more apples to apples comparison, because it's hard to compare something that is inactive or hasn't been as active as we had hoped to a change.
But we're gonna wanna see some results.
Right.
We're gonna wanna see some salaries, to Mike's point, salary surveys, job classifications, updated personnel, updated job descriptions. If that's not accomplished, then we really have to consider, and I'm, again, back to Phil's point.
And also records, right?
Right.
The records, personnel records, as far as where they're being housed.
That's not
how
part
they're
of the
being
personnel
housed.
board though, right? Isn't that what they said last? But we can go through that detail, but I do think, well, first we have to see if there are volunteers, right? We have to staff it.
Yep.
And then we have to, and I think, Mike, we really need help from you in terms of this is what the board needs to do to be an effective board to support the town, and we'd have to see some results based on that. And then even if all that happened, I will probably guarantee that I'll still bring it up in terms of I'm not sure that's the right structure for us to operate under. But
Yeah, this is more of I don't want to say a stopgap. This is an existing structure that is set today, and it just needs to function properly. If it's not functioning properly, that's when we need to come in and make a decision one way or the other. The longer term is to support a longer term plan or form of government. That vote will come at some point. Regardless of whether the board's functioning well or not, it's going to be more of a long term decision.
Mary, do you have something?
I guess my question is, how do we revisit it? We've discussed it a lot, and I think we all have a feeling that at some point we need to revisit this. I agree. Let's try to get a functioning board. We've all put it very well. But I do feel it was one of the things that stuck out at us this spring before. I don't even think we'd started going over this when we'd made the decision to let's hold and let's get on this. And we sort of failed to revisit it. Now, you have been very good, Mr. Chair, at bringing people in for quarterly reviews. You've started that. I think that's an excellent process. And perhaps we need to get it functioning and then start making sure, like you've been doing, that they come in quarterly. But yeah, we need a function where we know how we're gonna revisit it, because if we say that we make a part of this, we may never get there for a while. But I think it's something we pulled out and does need to be revisited. We may be able to do it without making it part of all of this.
And I agree 100%, because we don't need a charter to make certain changes.
Yes.
That's an overall longer 2-year, much longer process. We can still make bylaw changes. We can still change the government structure. And I do think, again, this was kind of the first domino in the line of things to discuss. So what I would propose, Gary, is we keep moving through the DOR study, keep prioritizing, and then maybe it's this spring, maybe it's 3 or 4 changes to consider for the town. Or things we're recommending stay the same, things we're recommending change, and make it a little bigger picture with a little more of a future look to it, Phil, to what you were saying in terms of being part of a bigger change and a bigger strategy.
I'll add a however in there. However, there's things that need to be accomplished in order to move the business forward, and we have to think of this as a business. With employees, we really need to make sure that that's a functioning board, or we have to rely on Mike as the personnel administrator, right? Mike, do I have that right?
Mm-hmm.
To move things forward. I mean, I read in the minutes, I wasn't here. The police chief's holding off on some hourly raise. Some things in there because there's not a functioning board. I don't want to see things fall by the wayside. That's why I said, if we're going to stick with this and make it part of a larger decision, it still has to be up, functioning, and we have to see results. Otherwise, we're falling behind in our own best practices in terms of running our business. So I want to see results, and if we don't see results, to Phil's point, it doesn't matter whether we're going to go with a charter or not, different charter or whatever we're going to do, then we'll take on the responsibility, I guess. If we can't get that board to go ahead and fulfill their duties, then it'll fall back on us.
Right.
Through Mike. That's
And-
pure and simple, real simple.
Mike, if the board does not have a quorum, is there recourse where the selectmen can step in and approve things that they would approve, or what is the if they don't have a quorum, what situation does that create for us?
Nothing gets done.
So there's no other way, no other process to move things forward without that.
That's right. I mean,
Okay.
and we've had that problem. Departments have tried to, two departments over the last 6 months have gone to the personnel board to change positions. The cable company and the library. The library, after 3 attempts at meetings, couldn't do what they needed to do. Luckily, I checked with legal counsel, and the library board of trustees is legally empowered to handle all their own personnel issues. So after 3 attempts, I told I told Ruth, I said, have your board do what you need done. As far as the cable, that took them several months to get a simple change through.
But I was always under the impression that we could, as a board of selectmen, if there's a board doesn't have a quorum, and there's business to be presented, that we could be the ultimate decision maker on that.
Not in this case.
Not on personnel issues?
No, personnel. The bylaw gave any authority that you had on personnel issues to the personnel board.
So, so potentially we're looking at 6 more months if we brought this back in the spring. So it's been around, this is the 30-year anniversary currently of the board next year. We're talking 6 more months. I guess the question is, this is off the top of my head, but does it make sense to put some kind of bylaw adjustment in there that says if the board is not whole, that the selectmen have the right to make the decision, or does that create? So that's off the top of my head.
I'd like to hear from legal counsel on that particular issue. I'm being honest. If there's a non-functioning personnel board and there's decisions to be made, you mean to tell me that the board of selectmen can't make that decision? I'd like to hear that from legal counsel.
Have you done this with legal counsel, with Vance already, on this whole process of what we can do if they're not whole?
No.
and all that? Okay.
No, I haven't.
I just want to make sure we're not duplicating.
Because
what we've already
obviously,
done.
you're personnel director, you report to us. I can't see why you couldn't come to us and say, as the personnel director, there's a non-functioning personnel board, these job classifications need to be changed. You mean to tell me that decision can't be made by the board of selectmen?
I report to the board, to the personnel board as the personnel director.
Right.
I
Okay.
report to you as a town administrator.
Okay.
They're 2 different positions.
Right, okay.
Well, look, we got
But I'd like to hear that I'd like the legal counsel to give us an opinion on that. Doesn't have to be, a whole diatribe, but I thought we could act instead of a non-functioning
Well,
board.
as a matter of fact, I mean, if they make a policy change and you don't act within 90 days, it becomes effective. That's the way that, they have the authority. You have final authority, but if you don't do what you're supposed to do, either, you know, say yes or no, then it's a yes.
Understand.
So within 3 months, they should have a board put together and a fully constituted board. Within 3 months after that, they should be doing business. And if they're not, we have the chance at Springtown meeting to make an adjustment at that point.
Could I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Perhaps it's sort of similar to what you're saying, Phil. We get them up and going, we do our best. But I think we need to put it on our agenda to look at the makeup of the personnel board. And do we need to make any changes? I see it perhaps more as giving, I do perhaps see giving Mike more authority, but still having a board where problems can go, as I'd said at I think the previous meeting, that it not end up at the Board of Selectmen. It might end up being more of an arbitration board, but someone that would also oversee it. And I mean, my thoughts, we have many times, I thought of this going home from our last meeting. I mean, it could be made up of elected people that are elected to town boards, a selectman, a moderator, planning board committee. I mean, you know, we make it part of that they send a member to be part of the personnel board. It could be a totally different makeup, but still we'd have some type of a board to look at job structure and things along with our personnel and director, town administrator,
Gary
acting finance
volunteers to
director.
be on.
Well,
Gary volunteers. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that's a fair, can I just get, Phil, one quick, just clarification, Mike. So what is the quorum for this board? Let's just get it out there again. What is the quorum for this board and what is the makeup of this board for the personnel board?
It's supposed to be 5 people.
So 5 people, so quorum is 3.
Right. One of them needs to come from the finance committee, and one of them needs to be an employee, non-union employee,
Appointed by the finance committee or a member of the finance committee?
a member of the finance committee appointed by the triumvirate.
Okay.
And that, I mean, if you want to make a change that. Just say it's a selectman's appointment. Why you have 3 different boards involved just makes it even more difficult to appoint somebody.
And I'm sorry, the 3rd member is just,
Well, you need
Resident.
3 more citizens,
right, but the other 3 are just residents.
yes. And well, the employee has to be a resident.
Employee has to be a
And
resident.
that's a problem because
Right.
not that many employees live in town.
Right.
Yeah, I
Well, yeah, to me, that's a flaw in terms of what if you had, what if by chance, in theory, you had no one lived in town who worked here? I mean, it's not a requirement.
That-
So by definition, you could make that spot defunct just by, so if you had 3 residents, the 3, is that board not considered functional without that FinCom and without that employee? who's
No,
resident?
as long as they have 3 people at a meeting, they
So
can
as long as
act.
they have 3?
Yes.
Okay.
So is it too late to take a look at, for this town meeting? Would be too late, but maybe for the next town meeting, we should take a look at a minimum, the makeup and complexion of the board. If that's a consideration. Maybe that's stuck in what was it, 74?
Yep, just, so one question is for Gary, and I feel you had something too. Can, for example, a selectman be one of those 3 residents? Is there a conflict of interest, or is that?
I believe when Evan was first on, when I first came to the board,
He was on the personnel board?
I thought he.
Yeah, I
pretty
think
sure
so
he
too.
was.
There's nothing in the statutes that say, the only thing is that a selectman can't hold 2 elective offices. We've been through, I just had this conversation with legal counsel about the CPC committee.
I got some questions.
And there was no prohibition against the selectmen serving on that. Usually, it's in a charter that says the selectman can only serve as a selectman and be on no other boards. That's what most charters say.
Can we get that enacted? No.
But we don't have that
Yeah,
prohibition.
we don't do that. Okay, so in theory then, so I'm assuming Chris Rich wants to continue based on his advocacy. We could put, again, just off the top of my head, 2 selectmen on there and be functional. That would give us 3 residents on there and at least be functional. I'm asking the question, I'm not making the statement.
I believe so.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just, I think HR is probably one of the most risky areas of our organization, of this whole town, right? I think of things like compliance, I think of ethics, talent management, hiring, staffing, retention policies, benefits, administration. I'm not qualified to even be on a personnel board. And, I think, we just gotta be careful that the people that we are considering, whether the position they're in, whether it's on a board of selectmen or whatever, I don't know what you're, maybe a VP of sales, and you may run a bank, but I don't manage people right now. I'm not an HR person. Stu, I guess Gary and I are probably the only ones not managing people right now. I am definitely not qualified to be on that type of committee. Hence the reason that we've just got to be very, very careful on who we're putting on these committees. And I just want to make that point clear. If there's one area, if I see risk for this town, it is in the human resources part of our organization right now. Hence to the point that I know where Mike is coming from in terms of not just getting the stuff done, but getting it done legally. So I just want to throw that out there.
Right, and I guess my thinking was, I don't know if the 2, let's say 2 non-selectmen volunteers would be any more qualified than 2 selectmen. Myself, I don't know. Again, I'm just trying to figure out, we have issue filling spaces, we have a backlog of things that want to get done.
Yep.
Can we put a board together that makes sense with the existing people who say yes a lot to these volunteer things? And then, keep recruiting, keep trying to make it work. And I'm just trying to understand versus, if it takes 3 months to staff it, and then 3 months, just to get warmed up, it's not really going to be very effective.
Just back to Phil's point, though, the personnel administrator is supposed to be the professional.
Right.
The board is supposed to, oversee. Just like we're not, I couldn't run the town on a day-to-day basis. I don't think anybody here could. But yet, we're still the authority. So it's still, as far in terms of a personnel board, Mike's the personnel administrator, is supposed to put it all together and bring it to the board. If that's the board it reports to on this particular issue, then, I don't think you have to be a personnel expert to be on that board. The expert's right there.
Right.
We've had the luxury of having an attorney and Chris Rich on the board, which I think helps. And I know Robin was on the board. We had an employee also. So I think that's the fairness factor in any type of, issue. But in terms of the professional piece of it, that's Mike's job, or the personnel, whoever that personnel administrator is.
And I'll just say, when I propose that, I'm no way trying to stack this board with selectmen. I'm just trying to figure out how to put people in place who will be responsible and support Chris or whoever else is there as part of the board members. So could be any board.
There was a candidate, right? Wasn't there a candidate that we
I
put?
believe so.
2, according to Chris.
I have a letter just of one. It was another planning board member who Chris had asked.
If I could,
Who said they would be on the board.
perhaps, if we make one change on this fall town meeting, special town meeting, it would perhaps, the part about the employee. Mike had mentioned that perhaps a hardship on finance, but, how many any idea how many non-union employees that live in a town that we can choose from? Is it?
Live in the town, no, I don't.
Are we down to like 3?
There's 1, 2, 4,
Probably more
well,
than-
5 in town hall.
Yeah,
I think
I
could be
mean,
on. One was already on the board and resigned.
I don't know if it would be a problem with contract, but I mean, could we even just strike the words non-union? And it'd give you a much larger pool to choose from, but I don't know if that was part of the thought, was to have non-union, but at the time in '74, there was probably a lot more non-union employees who lived in town.
They can be instead of arbitration, the unions can go to the personnel board, how it's set up now,
The
so.
conflict.
So,
it'd be a
okay,
conflict.
so that would be a conflict then.
Yeah.
Well, and
But perhaps we need to take the employee position.
Well, what if we went to a board of 3, just a regular board of 3 residents, and a quorum was 2? Now, I'm not making that change lightly, because that is a change, but, I mean, we've been having trouble getting 3, are we really gonna get 5 people? You know, what if we took a shot at making this, call it a regularly staffed board with no special appointments, and made it 3 residents, and so that a quorum was 2?
you've got 2 other boards involved, I'm not so sure. Again, I don't think we're ready to do this for this next
Yeah.
meeting coming up.
Right.
I think this
right.
is more discussion, let's get it staffed the way it's set up now, and then start the discussion around this. I think there's just no way that we can do this and get it all in at the next meeting. There's just no way.
Right, and I was proposing more as a discussion now, because
Right.
then the warrant piece will be
Yeah,
afterwards.
there's no way we can get it on the warrant for this meeting, so, you know, with all that in mind, maybe we put it on our to-do list, you know, one of our to-do list items to continue the discussion on this in the meantime, try to get it up and functioning and see how it works. And let that board we'll sit and talk with that board about how it's working, you know? Maybe we can hopefully we can get an employee. If not, we'll get 2 other citizens. We won't have that position filled, but we'll still have a quorum and still have that board up and running.
Agreed.
It's a challenge getting the people in.
Right, but one thing to that point is that you don't, personal opinion, I don't wanna see another board dominate that board. So if there was, 5 people and 3 of them are selectmen, I don't think that's right. If there's, a board of 5, or there's only 3 active and there's, 2 are coming from one board, I don't like that idea either. And I would be very selective about who I would support as a candidate. So I wouldn't wanna see diversity on that particular board.
Right, and I would say too that, again, the thing I remember from the Selectmen's Handbook when I ran many
You don't
years
read it
ago,
once a
see,
month?
I sleep next to my bed with it,
Oh,
but, it's about the town employees that make this town great and make it work. The boards are important, but you can't function without the really strong town employees. And to that end, if we have a board that is making a town employee's position difficult, or not allowing them to do their job, I think we have to up the sensitivity of it, and we have to up the urgency of it, because that's, to me, where it really creates a problem. If we have someone who's committed and dedicated trying to do their job, and a board is getting in the way for other than reasons and they disagree, that's where we need to act. Because that's not fair to everybody in town hall, and not just a situation, any board in that case. That creates an unfair situation for people who are trying to administer and run our town.
And that's why I can't understand why, if there's not a quorum of that board, that the Board of Selectmen can't take up those issues. I just can't see it. You're gonna have to have Tom tell me that, but I don't believe it at this point. Because it seems to be every other board that we could do those, there are other instances where we could step in and be the governing body. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy.
Alright, well, we'll find, that's a black and white.
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
We'll ask the question to the legal, and we'll see what happens.
If I could ask one more question?
Sure.
And that is, there was some talk about perhaps selectmen going on the board. Can we appoint members of this board, but not with a term to expire, but with a term until we find someone, so that at least the board could get up and running? If
I
we
would
don't-
want an expiration first.
I don't think you can do that because of the structure. You'd have to just resign and then, knowing that you're only
Well,
gonna serve for a certain period of time.
Okay.
Where-
I
you have
mean,
the
I'm
terms
just
up?
looking at, as you said, the structure of it. That's also a way of doing it.
Yeah, but it's
Just to get the
staggered
board-
for a reason, and then if you're gonna reappoint
No,
somebody to an unexpired term, then it gets really legal. You get legal mumbo jumbo there, and I think you gotta stick to the terms, but knowing, in other words, if there was an open 3-year term and you were gonna sit in it, Gary, your commitment to this board is, I'll give you 6 months, after that you need to find somebody else, because that's the plan. I don't think you can change the structure of those terms, because they're staggered, you know, for
Right.
continuity, there's a whole
Five
bunch of.
staggered.
And then
gotta
you
be
can
careful
resign, you
with
can
that.
resign.
You can just resign and have somebody else come in, yeah. When you
Because
find
technically
your-
there's 5
That'll give you
positions.
incentive to find your replacement.
Well,
Look, guys, I think that, you know, to be fair, we've given these guys, you know, I think, you know, some direction here. We want to get a compliant board, you know, a board that's active and running. You know, my guidance is to try to get more specialists than generalists. I think our board is made up of more generalists because we have to be, but I think HR is a specific function. You know, preferably I'd like to get some folks in there who have some HR experience. If not, we'll take what we can get. I got that. Let's give them, you know, the first 6 months to get this thing up and running. Let's give them some timeframes and some milestones. Let's give them some specific directive on what are the most critical items that need to get done in what time frame, and let's see this thing get moving. And in the meantime, we've got to work on the DOR recommendations. I don't think we can do anything long-term until we figure out what it is that this town is going to look like in the next, you know, X amount of years, that we want it, the community wants it to look like, and the structure that needs to support that. And I think we should move on to the next agenda item.
I'm good with that. We're all good to kind of, I think it was good. Trying to be as fair as we can and try and balance the discussion. And when you have a ringer come in, one of the original originators of a board, then I think it certainly merits additional discussion too. So thank you again for coming in very much.
Thank you for discussing it.
Great, absolutely. Okay, so moving on to the articles and closing of the warrant. Mike, can you help facilitate this discussion for us?
Yeah, we're practically at the point where if it wasn't for the ambulance snafu on the budget, we don't need it. It's almost a colossal waste of time, because we're gonna come in and you know, adopt a budget and then go home. Because I've been told by Howard Snyder that the planning board will not have a medicinal marijuana bylaw ready. So,
Okay.
and now it appears we're not doing the personnel bylaw. So there's just, you know, the issue with the highway overtime. The finance committee can take care of that with a transfer from the reserve fund. Now they would like to have $24,000 put back in their fund, because but that could happen in the spring too. Just to do that one thing is, and perhaps there's I don't know what the ramifications are. It's probably, you know, we can't spend the money because it's not been appropriated for the ambulance, but we've been spending it since July 1.
So can we let's talk about the ambulance article then, what that means, what that is, and what the implications are if it didn't happen this fall.
I have to find out from DOR really, but we've been operating since July 1 in that fashion.
We've been warned, though.
Well, can
We've
we
been
make
warned many times for many things.
can we make it retroactive if we vote on it in the spring? Is there something that would go all the way back to July 1st, 2013 if we vote on it
Well,
then?
we'd almost have
Have
to. But if we don't have to have a fall town meeting and can do it at a spring town meeting, I'll find that out. I'd rather do it that way than to have, because I really don't see a purpose for having a fall town meeting.
Quick question on the reserve fund. What are they down to?
52.
So, in your opinion, is that, are we
I'm
chancing it
sorry.
too much if something comes up?
62. No, I'm really, let me do it, the numbers here. It's 72.
Do I hear
Keep
82?
going.
Keep
No.
going. It's getting better.
That's my final number,
Final
final
answer.
answer.
My final answer.
So 70, so we'll have 72,000 in reserve. What do we start with?
96.
96? So they've already spent 24?
On nothing else except for this the highway adjustment.
No,
There's other stuff.
it was on insurance
Oh, that's right.
bills.
I mean, do you see anything coming that would we really be exposed to?
No.
How much does it cost the town to do a fall town meeting?
Well, it's not as bad as an election. Election's about $4,000, I think, but since we're not doing an election, the clerk has to hire counters, have people ready, but nothing, and people, clerks to check people in. It might be,
Reserve office, not a reserve officer usually.
yeah,
should pay.
$1,000 maybe.
And I do know historically, right, we've struggled to get, usually we get 96 to 98 people and then the emergency call goes out, right? So this is also has not been well attended lately. Well, I guess when's the last time we didn't have a fall town meeting? Because now they're going to say, Steve, I can't believe it. 100 years we've had a fall town meeting and you step in and kill it.
No, thank
It's a job well
I'm
done.
like, here we go.
Steve.
Here's my legacy. you know?
applaud you, I think.
There was a few years ago that we didn't. I know when Mr. Delaney was here, there was one.
You've
Bill,
had,
you were
you've
probably-
had 3 in a row since I've been here.
Yeah, there was a year. we
So I
did.
guess the question is, for the point of discussion, if we can appropriately, because the fire department is not really about functionally having enough money. That's about structural and accounting appropriateness, right? Based
Yes.
on
There's
DOR's requirements.
been no official appropriation.
So, and again, if we did that this fiscal year, which would be still in this fiscal year, and had it retroactive, I guess that's the question. Would it be I mean, if it's 3 months late now, does it matter if it's 9 months late, right? I mean,
It's that special town meeting you have before the town meeting.
Right.
Right.
right. But I guess, is there a difference between 3 months and 9 months?
Do we have time to make that decision, or do we have to know tonight?
No, we can vote on the warrant tonight, and then if we have to vote on not having the town
Cancel
meeting,
it.
we cancel it.
Cancel the meeting.
Now, can we do that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Until it's, well, even
Even after it's posted. you
yeah,
can cancel it.
after it's posted.
When was the targeted date to post it?
The third.
The 3rd.
I guess
I think the following
Yeah.
Monday is the last. We always
Right.
try to do it the Thursday before, just to
Okay.
sure.
I really like not
2
to
weeks.
post it and then cancel it if possible.
No,
'cause that's
it'd
just
be better
confusion.
not to post.
I'd be better off just not to post it, and then our excellent newspaper coverage could explain to people what was going on. So, so they understand it. But let's not have a meeting just to have a meeting. If it doesn't serve a clear purpose, to ask 100 people plus to come out and mobilize that force.
I would like to get the blessing of the DOR though on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna check.
Yes, I mean, right.
So, I mean, would we have to get together next week, next Monday night, just for this one decision?
No, I'd say close the warrant and, put those 2 items on,
Mhm. And then what the target was on.
and then, we can cancel the meeting on, our next scheduled meeting's the 3rd, right?
So,
No, not to the 7th.
Oh.
It would have to be posted. The
We had
latest to be
5:30,
posted
right?
would be
So
the
why don't we meet-
7th,
If I,
in the morning,
we
you
can
know,
meet next
Mhm.
Monday night for
Well,
7 p.m.
yes.
for
Well-
10 minutes, make the decision.
That would be enough. We could do it. Don't
Yeah,
you think?
I'm with Steve, I wouldn't wanna see it posted, then we cancel.
No,
But when is
I
the
wouldn't
last
have to-
date we can post it?
the 7th, but it would have to be that
well, it
day.
doesn't have to be on the 28th either.
that's,
We could
we could,
move it to the next week after that.
you know, if for some reason we were in trouble, we could do it in December, January.
Right, that's a good point, that what you just said, Mike, and what you just said, Gary, is that, I mean, especially if it's gonna be very clerical in nature in terms of what we're gonna handle, we could do it first week of December, right? Or
Anytime.
Or whenever. In other words, we haven't committed to a date yet. We have a target date, we haven't committed to it.
Right.
Because I'd really rather postpone and make sure we do the right thing versus again, post it and retract it, because that's just gonna confuse
We
people.
picked the 28th because that was the earliest possible date we could do it.
Okay.
The suggestion would, Mr. Chairman, I'll make the suggestion that Mike just gets the answer from the DOR and we meet next Monday night at 6 o'clock to determine whether we're gonna post or not, or does it have to be close of business? To be posted, because that's the last day, right? No, it
Next
would be
Monday, it
before.
would be,
That would be before, so why don't we just have a tentative meeting for 6 o'clock next Monday night, just to make this one determination, take us 10 minutes,
If we, depending on the answer. we
depending
get.
upon the answer. If the answer is yes, that the answer is yeah, you can let it go, then we don't have the meeting. If the answer is you have to do it, we vote it in and we're done. We walk, it's a 10-minute
We
decision.
don't have to post a meeting even until
Thursday.
Thursday, so.
And are we asking legal counsel or DOR? I have a
Both.
preference. Okay. I just don't wanna,
Our legal counsel called their legal counsel.
yeah, I just don't wanna
Probably
ask the
best.
recommending body, hey, should we do what you recommended? Right, I mean, cause,
Well, no, in the interest of saving money for the town,
I understand that, but I'm
can we
just saying.
continue with the current process until our next meeting, that's all. That's a real yes or, a simple, okay, yes or no.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Article 1, adjustments to the fiscal year 2014 operating budget.
So second,
Second.
motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, we're gonna, if we have the meeting, we would do it, Gary, but if not, we'll do it out of
Okay, so
reserves.
we're gonna,
So if we're gonna have to do it for Article 2, we might as well take care of Article 1.
Right.
If we can't, if we don't need Article
no,
2, we
that,
can.
that I understand.
Okay.
And if the answer is no from the DOR, that you have to do it, then everything we're doing tonight is fine, and there's no need for a meeting on Monday night.
Right.
If they say, yeah, you can let it go to your next meeting, we get together, and we just cancel the meeting.
Mhm.
Real easy. But this way, we're ready to go with this, just in case.
So let me just, I'm sorry, the vote then on Article 1, did we vote yet, or did you
No.
have a question? Okay.
I had a
Sorry.
question, yes.
It's been a busy night, my head's spinning.
I did, but so then are we closing the warrant tonight?
Yes, we are.
Yes,
I think you should do that
that's the intent.
first.
We close it, then we approve it, then we approve these? Okay. So there's a motion on the table.
It could be tabled for now. We'll just take up the motion, right, to close it. Then we'll go back to it.
So I'll entertain a motion to close the warrant.
So,
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
But we have nothing on the warrant.
No, closing it, meaning you can't put any more articles on it.
But we haven't voted on the articles.
We always close it, then we vote the individual articles. Sometimes we vote them in a separate meeting. We've done that in the past.
Right.
Close the warrant.
Does seem like the way we do it.
Yeah, that's the way we do it. We close the warrant first, and then we vote on the articles individually.
Basically closing it for the public, so no more petition warrant articles would be accepted. You can put warrant, the board, it's your warrant, you can put articles on anytime, up until it gets posted.
Got it. Good explanation, thank you. Okay, so we're on to motion 2, which would be closing the warrant. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Now, the previous motion, which was to accept
Article 1.
Article 1 and put it on the warrant. Any other discussion? Gary, you good? You give me the I'm not good smile.
When do we decide to post it? I guess I'm just not understanding our process tonight.
So right now, we are having a fall town meeting,
Yeah.
and we are approving the warrant and the articles, and we will be moving forward just as we've planned. If we get information from DOR/legal that says, you know what, you don't need to do the fire department article this fall, we will then meet on Monday, and at our discretion, we could decide to move forward anyway, or we could decide not to have a fall town meeting. So right now, we're moving forward business as usual. If we find out we don't need to do it, we can then decide to not have a town meeting, special town meeting, and that will be our board's decision next Monday night. And if we don't meet next Monday, that means we're moving forward.
It would post as planned this October 3rd.
I guess the way I'm thinking is, why don't we not act on them tonight, and then if we have to do them, act on them next Monday? Instead of have to
If
meet
we-
next Monday to say we're not acting.
Yeah, but if we do them now, we may not have to get together Monday night, because if the state says, no, you really need to have your meeting and take care of number
Right.
2.
Right, then we're
We
moving
don't have to
forward.
meet again. It's all done.
But then again, if the state says, don't worry about it, and we don't act on it tonight, then we don't have to have a meeting either. So I guess it depends on how you look at it.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
I guess that-
I would rather have the possibility of not having to come Monday night and getting the work done tonight.
Right. I guess so. So both valid. So I guess
Yeah.
so there's been 4 yeses, or did we vote? Sorry.
Yeah.
We did, the 4 votes when Gary was trying to get an explanation.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. We did the warrant for the vote before. Now we're on
Right,
explanation
yeah.
of one. I hadn't called the vote yet. Sorry. So I guess the explanation is it's of mine to move forward in our standard process, and then we'll have a special meeting, a unscheduled meeting as of right now, if we decide we don't need to move forward with this special town meeting, following, which I support. I think let's just move forward as we normally would, and if information comes to light where we don't need it, then we can simply, what do we actually vote on next Monday in terms of deciding not to call a meeting? What do we?
We vote not
Vote
to
to
call and
cancel.
have a meeting.
Which is-
Cancel
which-
special town
Cancel
meeting.
special town meeting.
Okay.
Pure and simple.
Hey, it hasn't been done in 100 years, so I just want to know what the vote is. All right, any other discussion on approving this article? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve article Fire Department ambulance operating budget as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, in support of our chairman who wants to do it this way.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve article Selectmen personnel bylaw.
Okay. Hearing no second. Do we have to actually remove it at this point, or do we have to approve it?
It was a placeholder.
It was a placeholder, but do we have to remove it?
You have to vote it down.
Yeah, you have to vote to remove it from the
Second.
warrant. Okay, I got a motion and a second to approve the Selectmen personal bylaw. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed?
Nay.
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 There was an aye for a nay?
Yes.
Okay. Next article.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve article Planning Board dash marijuana, medical marijuana bylaw.
Motion?
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. I'll put it out there that, should this not pass, it is not because we don't want to put this on the agenda, but the information we have is that it will not be ready for this meeting, correct?
That's correct.
So we're moving it based on that, not based on our bias pro or against putting a bylaw forward regarding medical marijuana. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Nay.
Hey, hey, you guys did well with the name.
I almost threw an eye in there, like, wait, no, that's
you're
wrong.
doing mine.
Okay. So Mike, are we good then? We have 2 articles on the warrant. The warrant is closed. The scheduled date is
Okay.
the October 28th, and the last posting date that we can do for that is
September 3rd.
Third.
Third.
October 3rd.
October 3rd. Well, the
Octo- or
7th is
Seventh,
the.
you said, right?
the 7th is really.
Technically, it's the 7th. If there's
Okay.
any last
And are we
minute
meeting
problems.
And we will be
At 6
this
on
third
the
by
30th?
by Thursday we'll determine if a meeting is warranted for next Monday. Any just preferences, 6 or 7 in terms of people
Earlier the
that don't
better.
make the meeting? Okay, 6?
Earlier the better.
All right, so we'll plan for 6. And
Even 5:30 would work better.
I don't even, we can discuss whether it even has to be televised event. I mean, I'm assuming it's gonna be pretty short if we're getting together for that purpose, but you never know. So anyway, we'll find out the information that we can on that, and we'll decide for about a meeting next Monday.
And on that, Mr. Chairman, would we be allowed to attend by phone, if possible?
If there was
As long as
Quorum
it's 3
present.
here.
Okay. So I may have to attend by phone.
Sure, we'll set up a special line just for you, Dave.
Your cell phone, bro.
Okay, so, we have a letter. Sorry, I just misplaced it. This one. Nope. Sorry, is this it? Requesting, the acceptance of Harmony Lane, and they reference the planning board. So Mike, can you shed some light on this for us?
This is an action that will eventually have to take place at the spring town meeting. But you have to refer it to the, refer it to the planning board for a report back to the board.
Okay. So-
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we refer the request for acceptance of Harmony Lane to the planning board for their review and report back to us.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. Okay. Thanks. We have correspondence, the resignation of Cynthia Tardif from the Council of Aging. Thank you very much for everything you've done for the town. It's certainly appreciated. And again, I think I'll also put out there, it's echoes that our resignations are outpacing our volunteers at this point. And that's nothing to say about the people resigning, because they put a lot of time in, and that time is appreciated. So, building on our board discussion tonight about the personnel board, you know, volunteers are needed to support the amazing town team that we have in place full-time.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have just a comment on that whole topic. Would it maybe help if we, on the front page of our website for the town, just list the openings that we have for boards?
Probably couldn't hurt.
Janet, is that something we can accomplish pretty easily?
Yeah.
And who to get in touch with and all that? I just think it may be easier and helpful for people just to locate it.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Hey, you know, and I'm just thinking of the,
Good night,
good
thank
night,
you.
thank you very much. Thank you, George.
George's taxi
I need a
service.
ride at 7 tomorrow morning.
Are you handing out business cards for your taxi
I might
service?
charge you guys.
I mean, I'm wondering, you know, at the various,
Kaminsky taxi.
various town events, does it make sense to try and recruit? And I know it's now creating more work for the existing board members who are already working, but, you know, maybe people don't understand what different boards do or what they could do, so maybe at the wine tastings or the pancake breakfasts or things like that, you know, we could have an information corner, try and recruit. I know a guy would be really good at that. Just a thought, you know, it's just hard because
I need a marketing budget, to travel and entertainment expenses.
you have a marketing budget at 0, and your travel and entertainment
That's not
is
zero, it costs me money, though.
Okay. So we have Georgetown Days, September 23rd to 29th this year. And is hosted by the Alliance for Georgetown. If people want to find specific information about this, is there a good way for them to find out additional information?
Is it thing on that flyer?
Yeah, I think there's a website as
I
well.
didn't see it when I was looking.
Gotta be somewhere else.
Well, for one thing, if you do want additional information, you can contact Jim Lacey, who's the chairperson. His email is listed on this flyer.
I can,
So go ahead, Janet. Go
I
ahead.
can scan it in and put it up on our website.
Okay, that'd be
That'd be
great.
great.
I don't,
And I want to make sure you get a copy of this too.
Okay,
So-
so I was just about to say, the two places people can check out is georgetownfund.org, run by the volunteer, Scott Jones.
Yep.
And also wickedlocal.com/Georgetown will have all the information. There'll be a printout of the schedule and the record this week too.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you. Thank you. A lot of effort goes into this, you know, a lot of pride in our town, so, and a lot of fun. So if you can attend, please do.
Are you flipping dogs Saturday
It's
at Camp Dennison?
it's possible.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Possible.
What time do we have to be there?
Gary, you going?
Is it noon?
It's 11:30, 3:30
11:30?
at Camp Dennison, the open house. You gonna, Phil, you going?
I always go.
Good.
Well, now the crowds are going to flock.
I know.
They know
This
you
year, I'm
can.
gonna try and make sure that Dave cooks more than he eats. So.
Well, you know.
Get another guy
So
for
that's
trying.
Saturday, Camp Dennison open house.
Okay, and then we have the Whittier Regional Vocational Technical High School Annual Operating Report for for Georgetown. So I'll just read this so people can understand just the basic. The enrollment for the evening school from Georgetown were 8 students. Grade 9 for day enrollment was 3 boys, 5 girls. Grade 10, 5 boys, 6 girls. Grade 11, 7 boys, 3 girls. And grade 12, 4 boys, 0 girls, for a total of 33. 2013 graduates, there were 4. And the cost to Georgetown for the school year 2012 to 2013 was $313,345. And it's a great alternative and an opportunity for the students of Georgetown to consider and be part of. So we appreciate the fact that they're there and offering another career path for people. Okay. At this point, I'll ask if there's some energy to go talk about the next topic in the DUR Financial Management Review. We went on fairly long tonight on the Personnel Board. So I suspect from all the faces here that we probably will move on.
What do we have left?
The whole book?
Well, we still have
17 more pages.
we still have some things to go through. So
I think we finished on page 10 last time, I think, in my notes.
I think we went through the HR last time. Right?
Yeah, you're right.
I think, was it IT the next piece up?
Yes.
Yep.
We finished on page 15, IT. Or page 14 is where we finished. So.
Enough energy for one page?
IT is not a one-page discussion.
Well, I'm talking about one page of their piece of it. So, all right, I'm gonna take the cue and say we will address IT in the next meeting because we have taken some time on this. The summer meetings were sparse due to travel, vacation, and other good reasons. So our next topic will be to take on the IT piece of it, and we will carve that out. Probably want to move it even up to, if it works out, old business, so that we get to it early
Agreed.
on the agenda. And because we did prioritize this for a little bit, summer happen. I want to get this back on the
Yep.
priority list. Because again, it does impact the work lives of the people in town who work here in Town Hall in terms of how efficient and how appropriate our government operates. Okay. Mike, anything
Sir.
from you?
Well, I did send this board an email last week regarding the Pembroke bid openings. They were held last Thursday for the general contractors. And we had 6 general contractors pre-qualified, and we received 3 bids, which made us a little nervous at the opening. But the original finance agreement with with MSMA, the school funding authority, was $36,979,000. So they agreed that we could spend that much and still get the grant, the 50% reimbursement with certain adjustments. So that was kind of our, because if the bids came in above that, any delta over 36 million we'd have to spend 100% of that out of tax money and not get any reimbursement from MSBA. The bids, even though there were only 3, 2 of them came in under that 36 million, and actually the low bid turned out to be 32,910,000, which is approximately, well, about $4 million under, and 11% below that target. So that's a good first outing. Obviously, things can change during the course of construction with change orders and things like that, but even in that $36 million budget, you know, they have built in a lot of contingencies as well. We haven't eaten through too many of those in the design process. I don't think we've eaten through any of them, actually.
The
So,
road
little bit.
paving and,
There's a little bit.
yeah, a couple other things. Oh, the floors.
and right now, the OPM and the bidder is, they're preparing contract docs and getting ready to sign the contract, and they hope to have groundbreaking by the end of October. So it's exciting.
That's great news. And I think that was a big question for the teams that we hired and guided us on this, is that how good will your pricing be? And they were really confident all through this process that we've done this before, we know how to build it in. And obviously, it's until the last check is written and the school is built, we can't celebrate yet, but certainly a big first step for them estimating conservatively for us, which is great news.
That's all I have.
Okay, great. Well, that's good news. Thank you.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Okay, appointments and approvals. Request for the council, from the Council on Aging, for the appointment of Caroline Sheehan as an alternate member with a term to expire June 30th, 2014. So moved. Thank you. And we, motion and a second discussion. I said we do have a letter from Colleen requesting this appointment. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're good. I guess, and I don't know, if one other appointment, given the discussion about the personnel board tonight, and we had held off on appointments, Chris Rich has been patient. So can I open?
We need all
Yeah,
3 boards to
try.
to
Oh,
try.
that's right. You're right.
Try.
Sorry. Thank you for that correction. You're right. Okay, so we'll work on that together as a tri-board. All right, our next meeting is officially scheduled as Monday, October 7th at 7 p.m. Same place, Same location, same bat time, same bat channel. Any other comments from the board before we close out tonight?
I just came from the Georgetown Education Foundation Links for Learning golf charity tournament today. Hence the little red cheeks tonight from being out in the sun all day. It was a great event, and for those folks in Georgetown and outside of Georgetown who contributed, played, and I and I think this whole board, as well as the school and anyone who has children in school, all appreciate the effort. It was a great day.
Absolutely, they do great things every year for the schools, so that's excellent. Anything else? All right.
Mr. Chair,
sir.
I need that, a moment of your board's time in executive session on a legal matter that just came to my attention since the agenda was posted.
Great, okay. So, my favorite procedural question. So we entertain a motion to move to executive session at this point?
A roll call vote to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on bargaining or litigating position of the government body, and the chair so declares.
Okay, so we take a roll call vote then
Correct.
to move to executive session.
Mr. Trapani says yes.
Smith, yes.
Eggenberg, yes.
Yes, surface.
Fowler, yes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. We will now move into executive session,
And you will not be returning to public session.
and we will not be returning to public session. And they're already coming up.
Sandy.